Very sad. Certainly looks that way.
Mr. President, what are you considering for possible consequences for Saudi based on those?
Well, it'll have to be very severe. I mean, it's bad stuff. But we'll see what happens. Okay?
New reaction from President Trump on the disappearance and suspected murder of a Washington Post columnist. Critics arguing the president is not doing enough. Former CIA Director John Brennan claims Trump and the Saudis are now colluding in a cover-up.
Their challenge is that they don't know the full extent of what the U.S. intelligence agencies and the Turks know. So I'm sure that they've been working to try to concoct a story that's going to stand up to the scrutiny that will be immediately put on it.
Joe Biden and some in the media also going after President Trump.
I'm very worried that the president seems to have a love affair with autocrats.
The president is completely in the pocket of any other dictators in the world because he admires their ability to basically kill or tacitly allow the death of anybody who criticizes them. I don't think the president ever got on the phone with anybody in Saudi Arabia. I don't think he read any sort of, NSA analysis to come to that decision. He basically said, I don't care. It was a brown journalist.
Wow. Jesse, where are you on this story? Because the president said, after meeting with Secretary of State Pompeo, we have to give the Saudis a few days. But now, in that last bite that we just saw, it sounds like he's saying something's going on and the journalist is definitely dead.
Yeah, I think the journalist is definitely dead. And it looks like this was a barbaric act. I mean, they use a bone saw and acid to dissolve the guy, so they have to pay a price. With that said, though, I mean, we do business with a lot of unsavory characters around the world. It's best when they not throw it in our face and remind the whole world of that. But at the same time, I wouldn't be canceling the arms deal, and I don't think we destroy an alliance over that. We'll come up with some sort of sanctions or repercussions in order for them to understand this is not allowed in a civilized society. But as a news story, this is not having any impact on voters. People really don't understand the story or care about it that much. And the Democrats and the media are complete hypocrites trying to score points off this. If this guy wasn't a journalist that had been killed, I don't even think the media would be covering this story. I remember how many people died in Syria that were gassed by Assad. Obama didn't even lift a finger after all those people were heinously killed. I mean, come on. And then you look at the other Democrats saying, oh, well, we have to do something about Saudi Arabia. We have to pull out of this, pull out of that. Is Hillary Clinton going to give back the $25 million the Saudi royal family gave her foundation? I don't think so. What this is about, the Democrats don't like Saudi politics because it's all about oil. They've always tried to peel this country away from Saudi Arabia for energy issues. And right now, whatever the president does, if he embraces an ally like he's doing now, he's criticized. If he antagonizes an ally like he's done in the past, he's criticized. He can never win.
All right, so Kennedy, a lot of people are saying this is about money and not...
It's always about money with the Saudis.
Okay, and the Saudis just sent $100 million fulfilling a pledge. They said that they would help the U.S. in terms of our efforts in Syria. The timing, a little suspect.
Yeah, it is a little suspect. I don't trust Saudi Arabia, and I think there are other countries in the Middle East where we are better aligned. I think you're absolutely right about Hillary Clinton, and she would have done the exact same thing. And this political cronyism goes back so many administrations, further back than our husbands. And American presidents have always protected this kingdom for one reason or another. And the world is going to look very different when we're no longer reliant on oil. And I wish we were more self-reliant when it comes to our energy reserves. But, you have environmentalists in this country who are, they're very torn and hypocritical when it comes to who we accept energy from. We still need energy. We still need oil. We're not quite there yet. But hopefully we will use American brain power in order to wean ourselves off of that, because it has made horrific strategic partnerships.
Dana, where are you on this one?
Well, I want to talk about what Brennan said about the president. I think it's unfair because if you go back to the Obama administration, I don't think they would have handled it any differently. I don't know if they would have handled it better. Do I think that immediately President Obama would have sent John Kerry, without even picking up a suitcase, directly to Saudi Arabia? And when he gets back from 3 days, he comes back. What's the first thing that happens? Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, meets with the president and Secretary Pompeo, and he pulls out of the Saudi conference. It's prudent, it's measured, and then you just heard the president say, there's going to have to be something severe that happens. So why don't you give him like half a second to try to deal with this. You remember when the Congress passed a bill that would have allowed the 9/11 victims' families to sue Saudi Arabia and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, and President Obama vetoed that bill. There wasn't a lot of complaining in the media at the time about that kind of action. But I do think that the Saudis are reckless and impulsive. You have an American green card holder, which, there are 18,000 of them serving in our U.S. military. Like, you cannot do this. We turn a blind eye to Saudi. We do not give them a lot of grief for a lot of things. Human rights violations, the way they treat women, the punishment that they use, how they treat their guest workers. And we need them as an ally in the region, but we're not idiots. We understand what's going on. I think the president's very clear-eyed about that. And one of the things that is important is sending a signal that it's unacceptable. Some of the things that might happen, we won't be able to see. Okay, like for these really rich Saudi people that might be involved somehow, that want to travel over the United States, make it a little hard for them to do so. We don't need to know all of the things the administration is doing, but we should trust them.
So, Greg, I mean, what strikes me is obviously, I think, the grisly details about what they did to this guy. I mean, it's just horrific. And secondly, picking up on what Dana was just saying, the Saudis, they're principally involved in 9/11. And we never, ever said, hey, look, you guys, you have to bear responsibility.
But I love that now the left cares. We've been talking about the abuse of gays, the abuse of women, the spread of radical Islam and the consequences from that, including terrorism. But it wasn't such a big deal for the left because you couldn't blame it on the West. So here you have the death of a journalist, and they're scrambling. They see this, we can peg this on Trump. They don't care about the journalist. They don't care how he died. They're just looking at it as an opportunity to tie to Trump because they certainly didn't care about all the injustices that you've listed about Saudi Arabia. I mean, they've done some horrible things. And also, to your point, for the better part of a decade, we've discussed the importance of being energy independent. We've done many segments on the phenomenal success of shale. We talked about that. The people who are against shale, against fracking, are the same people right now screaming about the Saudis. The whole point of shale, the whole point of fracking is so we aren't relying on psychopaths in the Middle East. But now the left has protected the psychopaths because they don't want us to do fracking. They don't want the shale. So there's a lot of hypocrisy going around, a lot of stupidity.
Can I make one last point on the arms deal? So it is about money, okay, right? So we get the money and the jobs, but it's about something else. If a country is buying arms from us, that means they're dependent on us for parts, for all the other things that go along with it. So we get a benefit out of that because that means we are the dominant player in the region. Do we want someone like Saudi Arabia to buy weapons from China or Russia and become dependent on them rather than on us? No. That would be foolish.
Well, I agree, but I just do think that we have some standing in terms of our morals, and we don't go around.
I agree with
Morals
you
are
that
overrated.
they need us more than we need them, and we need to behave accordingly.